Coming up on the premiere of VCU In-Depth, documentaries from students in VCU's Robertson School of Media and Culture.
We'll meet a couple who are very much in love, despite the challenges brought on by an HIV-positive diagnosis.
And we'll also hear about a unique method of getting fresh food onto the plates of those who are most in need.
This inaugural edition of VCU In-Depth begins right now. Hello, and welcome to VCU In-Depth. I'm Ryan Tagg.
And I'm Adam Epstein. Thanks for joining us as we feature documentaries from undergraduate students in VCU's Robertson School of Media and Culture.
HIV, or human immunodeficiency virus, is what causes what has come to be known as AIDS, or acquired immune deficiency syndrome.
New treatments for HIV have made what was once a fatal condition into something chronic and often treatable. But what about the effect it can have on a relationship when one partner is HIV positive and the other is HIV negative?
The result can be positive love, as we see with one Richmond couple who takes us inside their relationship, showing us how they live everyday life while dealing with a severe medical condition.
Oh, we're starting?
Yeah, go ahead. Just
Oh.
strange.
Oh. Hi, I'm Grant, and I got the HIV.
That's so sorry.
Yeah. Anyways, hi, I'm Grant, and I have HIV.
And my name is Dominique, and I am HIV negative.
So, this is the medicine that I take. It's a triplet, and it is a 1-a-day dosage. So, like, a lot of people think that HIV medication is just 2 or 3 pills, where the medication has actually gotten so good now that they can put it into a pill that you take once a day, and they're huge. Yeah, it's that little thing, which, well, for me, it's huge. I was in class. It was on December 1st, because I remember it was on World AIDS Day, surprisingly. And I got a phone call in class from the clinic, and I called them back and I was like, so what's going on? And they're like, well, you need to come in. We have to tell you your test results. The doctor came in and she sat down and she just point blank said, your HIV test came back positive. When she actually said it, just kind of like knocked the wind out of me, sort of say.
Sometimes it causes me to tremble, tremble, tremble. Were you there when he rose up from the grave?
Y'all have to be singing that song when I'm not here. My faith has always been very, very important to me, and I've always been active with it and active within a faith community. However, the HIV diagnosis, I think, deepened my faith, where some people, it might push them away from it and make them really question the existence of God or like the benevolent love of God. It actually pushed me towards it, because through that entire ordeal within the first 6 months I was dealing with it, it was my faith that actually kept me grounded in the world and gave me the tools to deal with it and cope and grow out of it. It could have been a very negative experience in my life from a mistake that I made, but God was very, very loving, is always loving. And if you allow God into your life when something negative or bad happens, God can turn it into something very beautiful.
Grant is very outgoing, very opinionated, very passionate, and Dominique is very even-keeled, very deliberate, very calming.
It's been very good for Grant in that he's been there to be supportive of him. And the issues that I see them having are just regular couple issues, and it really isn't what I've seen. It hasn't been it hasn't revolved around the HIV, which has been a good thing.
I don't know. What are you in the mood? You are not making spaghetti.
But we can have garlic bread.
I want spaghetti.
Well, what else do you want?
Do you have any like interesting sauces, or is it all like plain? Oof. But we have like tomato sauce.
And
What?
it's ragu.
No. I want spaghetti. We can make tacos.
No,
We can make tacos.
I don't want tacos. Our first interaction, I was looking for a cup for water because we were having a lunch or something, and I went up to the security desk and I was like, hey, do y'all have any cups for water back there?
I was like, we don't have a cup, just drink it out of your hands. And I think he thought I was trying to make fun of him, but I was actually being serious. Drink water out of your hands, it's fine.
What do I look like? I look like I come from a third world country and I can't afford cups. Like, it was a really horrible thing to say, but that was the first thing that came out of my mouth.
We started off very snarky, which is, I guess, passing names back and forth.
I don't know. Like, there's just like this instant connection that we had, and I just felt drawn to him.
How did I know Grant was the one? I mean, again, I think I just gave him a try, so.
Just a try.
I feel like there was no one moment where I was like, oh, this is the one. Like, there was no revelation, no light bulbs going off. I knew it. I was comfortable with him. We could be ourselves, so.
You can take a leg if you want it. Because I'm not going to eat all of this.
Well, you guys got the dinner portion, right?
We did.
I got the lunch.
It's probably smart to do that.
Especially since I'm going to make Dominique go to Krispy Kreme. Yep. There's a Krispy Kreme over there.
I mean, it's right there.
We are going there tonight before we go home.
Oh, God.
I wouldn't say that I felt like I wasn't worthy of love, but I definitely had those instances where I really questioned if I would find it and if it was something that would be in my life one day.
And we were just talking, and he just told me, like, flat out, hey, I have HIV, and I was like, oh, I already knew that. And I think it kind of threw him off guard, too, that I was just, like, so nonchalant about it.
But he didn't let on that he knew about it. I remember the night that I told him he was working security, and he came up to my room, and I had a single apartment at that point, and even though he was supposed to be working, he stayed up there for 3.5, 4 hours, and we just sat there talking. And I remember telling him, I was like, so I need to kind of tell you something. I'm HIV positive. He's like, oh yeah, I know. I was like, oh, okay. That's nice to know that you know. Is it fair for me to put Dominique in a position where he's going to be living the last 15, 20 years of his life without someone there? And I wouldn't want that.
You're gonna cry.
And it's something that scares me because I don't want to leave him. He drives me crazy.
Because we're gonna go get our pictures taken at, get our pictures taken at Botanical Gardens. So, gotta look a little fresh, a little fun. I've always, heard stories of, planning weddings is gonna drive you crazy, you're gonna be angry, you're gonna be happy. It's pretty much every emotion you could imagine when you're planning a wedding. So I definitely get that from Grant. Grant can go into bridezilla mode where he has to get everything he wants, he has to do this, he has to, call this person now, I can't wait. But also, I get those happy moments when Grant's just, happy that the wedding's coming up very soon. For me personally, I'm just going with the flow of it, You need the money for something, here's the money for it. You want to call this, I'll call this person, Basically trying to make the process as simple and stress-free as possible.
Because we're doing that.
merger.
Yeah.
We have to.
You're gonna get it all over your new suit.
I know, right?
We'll put a bib over it.
If we met a young couple that was like us, where there's an HIV positive and HIV negative person, I would give them the same advice that this gentleman gave me, and it's that don't let it become your life. You know, it's now a part of you, and it will paint what your life is, but it isn't your life.
You want a dog?
There's so many things that I know I want to tell you, and there's so much in me that I hope you know, but I feel like there's never words to express it. And I feel like the only way I can actually get around to doing it, and hopefully you see it, is the way we live our life together and going through the daily motions and everything. God, you actually made me speechless. I don't know what to say. That's a first. Jerkwad.
I'm Bill Oglesby, an assistant professor in the Robertson School and the instructor for the documentary class. With me this evening are Latoria Todd, Nana Bonsu, and Sierra Jarrett, who produced the Positive Love documentary. Thanks for joining us, guys.
Welcome. Thanks for having us here.
Nana, I'm going to start with you. Where did the idea of doing this story on an HIV negative and positive couple come from?
Well, Latoria actually saw the story in the Commonwealth Times. So it was just a print article, and we came across it, and we're like, this will make a really good documentary. So we realized that in the story, it said he worked for he was an RA for VCU. So we just made a couple calls to VCU housing, and we just tried to look for, try to see where he was, and they told us what dorm he actually worked in. So we made a trip over there. We talked to him a couple times, met up with him, and he was like, yeah, I would love for you guys to document the story. So that's where it started. Okay,
great. Well, now, Latoria, when you were starting the planning of this documentary, did you deal with any stigmas that sort of made it challenging?
Oh, yeah. Definitely one of the stigmas was homosexuality. HIV in itself is a negative stigma. It's usually looked at as a death sentence. So our goal of this, and we constantly kept it forward, was to focus on the relationship, and everything else would fall into place.
They certainly, obviously, have a very close relationship.
It
came through.
Yeah, we wanted to make sure that just when you see Hollywood films, most of the times you see someone with AIDS or HIV and they're dying in a hospital bed, and we wanted to make sure we went away from that negative stigma.
Mm-hmm. And that's why we entitled the documentary Positive Love, to show, a different side of HIV.
I got you. Okay. Well, Sierra, tell me, what was the major takeaway that you took from spending all of this time with Grant and Dominique?
Well, for me personally, I learned how to love and accept an individual, even though this person may have flaws. It was beautiful to see the relationship that they had and how Dominique cared so much about Grant, even though he had this big cloud of HIV that was above their relationship.
I was just so surprised at how well he seemed to be taking that. I mean, I remember at the beginning of the AIDS epidemic, and there was such a stigma to it, and it was so frightening, and yet he seems very, very positive about the whole thing.
So positive. And honestly, like you saw in the documentary, Grant is more the one that's like, I have this disease, and I don't know how to take this, and Dominique is the one that's like, it's going to be fine. You're going to be with me forever.
Okay, well, thanks very much. I've been speaking